everyone, welcome to the third segment of License to Skill hosted by the Other Side podcast. As you would know, the ongoing theme of discussion on the podcast has been networking, and today we'll be continuing with the theme. Today's topic of discussion is going to be how to increase your reach on LinkedIn through the connections you make. And joining us today is Pratyush, who's a student of IIT BHU, but he's a lot more than that, and hopefully we'll find out more about him over the course of this interview. So thank you so much for joining us, Pratyush.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I mean, I've been a avid listener of the Other Side podcast, and feels great to be a guest here.
Great to have you. So I'll just cut to the chase. So how can I increase my reach on LinkedIn through connections? How do I go about this process?
Okay. So I think it's a very important parameter to establish what do you mean by a reach. I mean, reach could mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people, right? If you're a student like me in an engineering college, for you probably reach would mean connecting to relevant people in the fields that you want to sort of get into right after graduation. If you're probably just starting out in college, you'll probably want to connect to people who you think are accomplished in the field, probably alumni, because when you don't have a lot of idea about a particular thing, you cannot just reach out to any stranger. If you're a B2B salesperson, or if you're someone who's sort of consulting on a freelance level, or is a business coach or a life coach, for you reach would probably mean a lot of engagement on your posts and a lot of engagement on your LinkedIn profile, right? So I'll probably speak for myself as a student. Initially, I think what every student should do is try and reach out to relevant people in the college itself, so that you have some connections on your LinkedIn page. So when you reach out to someone who's slightly senior or a graduate, they don't think your profile to be fake. So they just see that you have 30, 40, 100, 200 connections. So they know that you're genuine. And then maybe from there you can start connecting with people who are sort of relevant in your backgrounds. So I think this is how I'll structure the aspect of maximizing connections on LinkedIn. I don't think there is a right set of fundamentals associated with it. It's very simple. I think people just make it complicated.
True. So coming to the process of sending connections itself, if I am to understand correctly, there is a message option, right, in which you can send across a small message to the person you're reaching out to. So what do you think about using that option effectively?
Right, it's a very important question, especially when you're sort of reaching out to people who are, say, well off in their professional lives, right? So if I'm just reaching out to someone who's just a year older to me in college, they would probably know me by my name, or probably through some college fest or a college body that we both work together. So it's usually okay for me to sort of send a direct connect request without sending a note. This is called a personalized invitation. So when I'm reaching to someone, say, who is 30 years older to me, 20 years older to me, they'll probably not have the time to look at my profile and then decide, do I know him or her before accepting my request. And it's also important to understand that they get such requests from all sorts of people throughout their time that they spend on LinkedIn. So if you just send a connect request without a personalized invite, it looks like a spam something to them. So what you can typically do is, if you're using on a laptop, there is an option called add a personalized note when you're sending an invitation to someone, and it gives you about 300 characters to sort of structure a message to that person. So I think it's very important to sort of introduce yourself as to what you like in that person, why you think connecting with them on LinkedIn on a professional platform will help you, and how you think their work or whatever they have done or their time that they sort of spend on LinkedIn can help you learn or grow. So I think it's very important to structure the entire thing into 3 steps, and that usually does that job for me, at least.
Right. But on the flip side, do you think sending cold emails has now become irrelevant in some sense? Or do you think there is still some value to sending cold mails?
Okay. So I'll share an anecdote. I think that's the best way to sort of talk about that. Usually, what happens is when you connect to someone on LinkedIn and they have some degree of privacy settings that sort of allows you to see their email IDs once you've connected with them. It's a great practice to sort of send them a cold email. The reason for that is, of course, very obvious, because in an email you can attach your resume, maybe a portfolio of the things that you have done, maybe your individual website, or you can even customize the length of the message, because a personalized invitation just gives you 300 characters. So in a cold email, it's usually about sparking that interest, because since you're sending from an unknown contact list on the email, you don't quite know where it will land up on their inbox. It might be treated as a spam or a promotion tab or an update tab. So I think that is the challenge. And then what should probably get them to read that email? because they get lots of emails, right? Probably they'll be subscribing to newsletters, podcasts, videos, whatnot. So why would they even take a look at your email? So I think structuring that initial aspect of that content or the subject of the email is really important. And if you're able to do that well, it can sort of pay you a lot of dividends. So I'll share I wanted to share an anecdote. So what happened was the soon to be the chief HR officer of Reckitt Benckiser was the one who sort of gave me an internship opportunity when I was sort of applying for my summer internships in my freshman year. So that time, what I did was I didn't quite know a lot of people. I didn't quite have a lot of experience. So, but I believe I had a decent portfolio that I could probably showcase to a lot of people. So I sort of prepared a nice cold email template that could sort of fit in with my background, and I sent it across to two people, both of them from similar college, both of them in similar backgrounds, but in different companies. One of them were in HUL, one of them were in RB. And the person from RB sort of made sure that I get equal chance to sort of interview for that role. And I ultimately ended up doing that internship. So yeah, I mean, cold emails are still very relevant. Uh, there is an element of luck associated with it, but then I think that is social media in general, right? So yeah.
Right. Coming to a myth that we'd like you to bust, what is the relationship between networking and connections? I mean, the two are often seen to be synonymous, but good networking is often more than just having the right connections or making the right connections on LinkedIn. So, what are your thoughts on that?
So let us probably take my profile or my LinkedIn presence for example. I have about 15,000 followers, some 8,000, 8,500 connections, and I think about 100 people that I know really well. And these 100 are outside of my college audience, whom I can probably reach out on a WhatsApp. So I think the biggest difference between networking and connections on LinkedIn is the amount of information the other person has on you. So if someone just knows me as Pratyush Chaudhary on LinkedIn, that would probably not add a lot of value to me, and probably not add a lot of value to the other person as well, unless it's just about say exchanging messages or exchanging information on their posts and engaging with their content, or probably occasionally promoting their stuff over mine, right? Maybe sharing something that they did with my network. If I'm sort of looking for a deeper association with someone, it's very important for me to have that one-on-one individual interaction with them, where they are aware of my strengths and weaknesses, they're aware of my background, they're aware of my professional aspirations. So they, using their experience, they're able to guide me better as to how I should probably proceed and how I should probably attempt or try out things. And if it works out or if it doesn't, then they can even guide me further. So I think it's a very common misconception that the more connections you have, the better network you have. I think that's a very important myth to bust. And thank you for asking that question.
Right. Coming to my next question, what about the different other forms of networking on LinkedIn itself? It's not just about connections, right? What about other things like content creation and engagement?
Right. So as I mentioned, right, it's very important for the other person. In when you're talking about network, it's very important for the other person to be aware of your background, to be aware of your strengths, weaknesses, motivations, background, professional aspirations as well. And that usually does not happen, say, on a personalized invite that you probably send them on LinkedIn, or even on cold email that you send them to introduce yourself. That usually takes a lot of time to build, and it also takes up a lot of trust on that other person, right? So that you are also comfortable being vulnerable to them, and over some course of time you have some degree of mind space in their head. So when they think about Pratyush Chaudhary, they know that okay, he's from IIT BHU, he's from biomedical engineering, he has done so and so in his life and he wants to do this. So this takes a lot of time to sort of do, but it's not a scalable process, especially when you're talking about one-on-one interactions over say phone, WhatsApp, meeting them personally, going out for coffees with them, and not definitely not possible in the new status quo that is COVID, right? In the post-COVID era. So what usually happens is if I'm sort of very active on LinkedIn, if I'm sort of very interested in a particular topic or two, and I'm constantly creating content on top of that. Say if I am interested in say product management or how management consulting works, and I sort of solve cases, but I sort of present the solutions on LinkedIn, opening up for a discussion with relevant people. That typically shows that other person that Pratyush is just not talking about management consulting in his profile headline, but is also actively engaging with the community in the space, so that he is actually passionate about this, and I can probably help him become a better management consultant or probably get a job or an internship in this field. So the usual approach to this is starting by commenting on the other person's post, so that you sort of have that degree of attention. And if your comment or if your engagement is really good, you do get that attention from them. Once you have that attention from them, then it's the next step to sort of maybe tag them in your post, or maybe tag them in a comment in someone else's post that you think is relevant to both of your interests. So that sort of helps you increase your mind share that you have in their mind, and that sort of helps start the networking aspect of the relationship. Yeah.
Yes. And coming to you, you've had a very interesting journey on LinkedIn. You've secured some really prestigious internships through the platform. So could you share some experiences with us?
So I think most of the professional opportunities I've had in terms of projects or internships are some or the other way related to LinkedIn. But I mean, it will be really hard for me to sort of pick out a few examples. On a very high level overview, I think the most cherished moment for me would be me engaging with Satya Nadella's posts on LinkedIn, and then writing about that in documenting all my interactions with that, and sending him an cold email and getting a reply from him. And on his 5th anniversary as the CEO of Microsoft. So I think that really stands out for me in terms of experience, because he's a leader that I really admire, and I sort of aspire to walk down his career path someday. And I mean, I just believe it's LinkedIn that sort of has helped me reach out to him. But it's not a professional opportunity of sorts, but I think it's definitely the most cherished moment I have. If you're talking about professional opportunities that I have created through LinkedIn, or LinkedIn has sort of helped me achieve, definitely the internships with RB and Pfizer would really stand out. And those were really special because those were in my freshman year, where I had little to no experience about the industry, neither I had any technical training. So the only reason, I still believe, the only reason those companies were even willing to look at my CV was because I had a decent LinkedIn profile. And I think, yeah, LinkedIn opens up a lot of opportunities for you.
Thank you once again for watching. If you like this conversation, stay tuned next week for part 2 of the same conversation dropping next week. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Other Side.